Welcome back to the Shit They Do Not Tell You What About podcast.
It's called Shit They Don't Tell You.
And we are talking today. This is a continuation. This is a part B episode.
I'm Nikki Limo.
We have, and by the way, my name is Stephen Green, but we have never done a part B in the Shit They Do Not Tell You What About history.
We have.
It's a history. This is a historical day.
We've done it. One time on our 100th episode, we took questions and it went for 2 episodes.
So what's significant about today is that we're actually carrying over a conversation from a previous episode. And that's remarkable.
Okay, that part. We've never had a part 2. This is me correcting an inaccuracy, which is we talked about in the first episode. Well, we've never had a part 2 where we decided it was going to be part 2. We had a part 2 where it was split into 2 episodes because it was too long.
Hey, that's just a fact.
That is
good
facts.
Point. That's
Thank
a fact.
you. Now the story is accurate.
Good point.
And we can proceed with the rest of the conversation.
I like it. I like it. I was like what you just did with your legs, so we're good.
Oops, sorry, Mark.
Nikki's smoking the fucking screen up over here, by the way. So you guys got to be careful out there.
Excuse me.
If you're looking at this in 1080p.
If you thought you were sitting in a no smoking zone.
Guess what?
90s joke.
You're gonna die of lung cancer, actually.
So
be careful out there.
Be careful.
Be careful about it.
Be more safe.
Don't smoke.
Don't vape either.
Hey, I just saw some ads about that.
About not vaping?
Kids is vaping out there. They love the flavors.
Kids never listen.
Kids love the flavors.
They used to love the flavor of tobacco.
I saw one, just real quick, I saw this kid, and like, you know, we've all fallen into like overacting kingdom.
Sure.
But there's this ad with his kids, like, you know, telling his mom to like fuck off in the most PG way because it's like for an ad for YouTube. And like this kid's just like, all he can do is like, he's basically just shake his head and like sit down frustratedly. And I was like, yeah, that's not how a teenager talks to his mother when he's like actually pissed.
How did you talk to yours?
Oh my God, bro. It's like, hey, how about you?
Hey,
how about,
hey, mama, mamma mia.
Hey, why you gotta drive the truck so loud? You know, that's kind of like
a
little inside baseball. I'm from an Italian family. No, but to continue this conversation, look, if this wasn't such a significant and personal topic for myself and the Limo here, it wouldn't be as interesting to us. But it is so personal to us that I could talk about it forever. Yeah,
true. And we do all the time, but we don't
offline.
We don't really record it.
No.
And I do think it is very much shit they don't tell you. It's just that in the past I felt like, well, this is shit they don't tell you that I experienced to be true, but I am kind of hesitant to share because it might not be well received.
Well, yeah, no, and you know, we all spend too much time doing that. But one of the best things about doing this show that for me and Nikki has been like one of the more fulfilling things, honestly, ever, is just how much we appreciate the feedback from people. Because, you know, you're just like, it's a strange interaction, right?
Yeah.
You're doing something in your little room and you're recording it and then you're putting it out there and you don't know who the fuck is absolutely listening.
Yeah.
You see numbers on a screen.
But it doesn't really register
ever
until you meet people in person. Yeah.
And then you're hearing stories about, you know, oh, I thought I couldn't do this, but then I saw you guys talking about this.
Oh, yeah. Like people tweeting or posting Instagram stories of them like changing their whole lives. And I'm like, wow. And they like they'll like tag me and like from listening to this podcast, I'm like, what? Like, whoa, like you did that. You did that.
That's the thing, too, that I wish more people knew. You did it. You did it. But you just don't realize what you're, you know, you do. Like, believe it or not, we're very humble people, and we don't see ourselves as like...
Number one key to being, to a sign that someone's humble is when they say that they're a humble person. You got to tell people.
But no, I don't sit there and like just go, man, I'm
like, we are the shit.
Setting people up.
Oh my God.
No, it really
is.
The
way we hit that breakup button and they broke up, we did that. That
is the only thing I get off on is breaking people up, as you know. Yeah, just how... doing our thing has made people go, maybe I could do that too. And that's all I've ever wanted in life. I swear, if my mantra is anything, it's that I'm not better than anybody.
Even when it's not the same thing. Like when we did the coverage of of like me going far on the WSOP, I got messages like of people interested in poker now that like were never like that we were where they weren't into poker before. Now they're kind of into poker.
And
they
for women as well, who never thought that they could contend.
Beyond that, because that's kind of like an obvious inspiration, sure. But beyond that, people were messaging me saying that they always had a dream of doing X thing, like some like passion that they had, and they kind of brushed it off as something that was a silly dream or whatever. But the way that they saw me go through that cycle, because they followed the vlogs and they're like, I remember when you just got in and now you're doing this, like what could I do? And it kind of unlocked their own potential in them. And I was like, that is amazing.
It is.
It's amazing that you got that from watching me do a completely separate thing.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I would never have guessed that.
I know. I mean, dude, here I am, a humble man who had porn stars in a bus and had guys thinking they're getting on the bang bus. And, you know, people tell me that it stopped themselves from killing themselves. And I'm like, yo, I don't know how that works mathematically. But thank you. Yeah. But also, I think that you had mostly to do. I think you were the biggest part of that.
And they were open to something that would help them stop themselves from doing that.
Anything, you know, like fucking, like somebody could have honestly like T-boned them in traffic, and they'd be like, "Thank you. I think you stopped me," because that's how I feel about myself.
Yeah.
Compared to like what they're bequeathing me. With a compliment like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like it feels like a huge like honor.
Like, that, bro, that's not the thought I put into this shit. I promise you. I wasn't sitting there thinking about.
Isn't that crazy how that happens? It is crazy.
You just don't know how people are gonna react, right? No. It's like art. It's like art. It's like walking to the Guggenheim, right?
Yeah.
It's like
people have intense, extreme emotional reactions to art, and like
and
everything.
Some people don't. And
everything from like meh.
Some people go up to the Mona Lisa and like, whatever.
That's me.
And I love them. By the way, I love them just as much as anybody who's going to sit there and talk about the pastiche.
No, you know me, I'm like, wow, okay, logically, this is a one-of-a-kind piece of art. This is a historical thing. This is, and me trying
I should like this more.
I'm trying so very hard.
Why can't I fit in?
To soak it. I'm like, I really, really want to appreciate this with all my heart. I want to appreciate it. Not many people get to see this wonderful work of art. And in my head, I know all the reasons that I want to appreciate this art. Yeah. And it just is not affecting me. And that's...
You want to fit in, but you want to fit in.
And I'm not shitting on the Mona Lisa. This is not just... And this is not just singular to the Mona Lisa. It's happened like when we went around the world seeing like the Buckingham Palace and like all these different like sightseeing things that like are like, wow, this has been around forever. And I'm like trying my hardest to soak it in and be like... This is a one of a kind thing, and like trying to use a power to like be affected, whereas like other people are so easily like they'll cry at it, you know. And that's happened a few times too. Like I went to the Ground Zero at New York and the 9/11, you know, and I was overwhelmed with like emotion, and like I don't know why you can't pick and choose what things affect you, right? And so like that guy that stopped himself from killing himself after watching your trolling video, he didn't get to choose what affected him to do that.
And he's probably pissed
because I watched your video.
I can't believe this reached me,
and I was like, another one, like get a new shtick, bro.
Which one was that? Was that 6 or 7?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You want me to be part of your Santa poops herself again? Like, I think that's good, man.
Pretty good. Another one that stopped people from suicide. If only I don't have a story for that one. But other than people going like, wow, I can't believe this was in my feed. I'm like, cool, thank you. Yeah. No, but continuing our conversation, right? So you know, these stupid creative paths that we have created for ourselves.
In career fields that didn't exist when we were growing up.
Oh, not at all. In fact,
there was radio when we were growing up, but there was not podcasts.
No.
You know, like there was no...
And also, too, something that I personally believe in is, you know, like if you're going to be a broadcaster or whatever, like you're going to talk on the radio or whatever, I really do believe in working on it. You know what I mean? Like not just doing it. Like, like not just starting it to start it. Like really
hobby,
putting
passion.
the time in and like trying to figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
Like, cause good Lord. Cause like, you know, like it's not a meme. It's like a real, I think, valuable tool, which is the 10,000 hours that you put into something, I think really does show up in the pain.
Yeah.
If you really put the time in, you know, and one of my favorite things, me and Nikki were talking about this today, you know, people like to say the meme, which is like follow your passion. So you could look at us and go like, oh, they follow their passion. But honestly, like, I think Mark Cuban put it best. I was watching, I was reading something about Mark Cuban, and he said, yeah, follow your passion, I think, is not the best advice. I think it's about following your time, which it resonated with me hard. Because it's like, yeah, that is what, you know, what it's like to work for yourself, especially, is like, it's a, you know, and this is such a thing that people don't really know necessarily about 9-to-5ers versus tubers or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you are putting so much time into this thing that people don't really know about. But your time is your passion. You know what I mean? Like that really is like where you're spending your time. Like, you think that fucking people are sitting there editing videos for goddamn 40, 50 hours a week because they love it? Because they're passionate about it?
Do.
No. But that's not the driving motivator. You know what I mean? Like,
you're creating something.
You're creating something. And yeah, that like the spark is what your passion is.
Yes.
But the process sucks ass. It's grueling. It's miserable. What if it was just their passion? Why do you think YouTubers are like, I gotta take fucking months off, guys. I'm sorry, I don't know what to do about it. I fucking don't know what to do. The reason why is because they're like, God damn, the process sucks. Like, you know, because they're, yeah, I followed my passion. That was the start of it. But doing it is a completely different animal. Like, so following your time is the most practical way of looking at this.
I have conflicting, well, maybe it's not conflicting. It's just another thing that I've discovered through following my passions, I guess, is that I've learned to fall in love with the process. I've learned to be more process oriented than results oriented, because that's where you're spending most of your time. So if there's something that you don't really like about it, like, for example, if you didn't like the editing part, you got to find a way to outsource that shit then, because the time, whatever you're spending the most time on is what's draining your passion. That's what's draining your creative force. It's your energy. Like, if you think of us as just like vibrating, which we are, we're vibrating beings, like we're just a bunch of vibrating atoms. I tweeted that the other day, like, we're just a bunch of weird vibrating atoms. And we are just like a frequency, right? And like, it's like you have a certain amount of energy that you have of supply, like your battery that's like on full, right? And then as it goes throughout the day, it's going on more empty, and then you're on red. And a lot of people spend it at a 9-to-5. Then they get home, they're on red. Their battery is on red, and so they sit down at the universe
is like left them on red.
Oh yeah, not that, but yeah, that's funny too. Their battery is at empty; it's at 10% left, and so yeah, they don't feel like going and working on their dream. They feel like sitting on the couch and watching TV because they're fucking drained. Like, and so you get this from people that's like, well, where can I find the time to do that? I'm exhausted after work, and it's like you got to find a time away from work that you can carve out and dedicate to the thing that you actually love to do, because this other stuff is going to drain you until you can work on this side thing enough for it to take over, and then you can leave that other job. But you whatever you're spending the most time on is what's draining your life force. So I've made it a point to like to examine like if I really love the process of what I'm doing, or if I am in love with the ideal results of what might happen.
That's good.
Whenever I fall in love with the ideal result, I'm not having fun, and then I don't achieve the ideal result.
Nobody does.
Yeah.
Everyone's in misery about the ideal result. The ideal result doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Because especially if
it hinders creativity.
If you exist in a medium that requires multiple people, so it's like you're not just the writer, producer, director, you have to have other people doing these things.
Yeah.
And then you have to have a studio or whatever the fuck to get it done. Guess what? It's not going to be what you wanted it to be initially. That's never going to fucking happen.
Better.
It is better. It's way better. But you don't know that. You have to let go of that obsession that you have with your own vision. It's that whole
thing of like how perfectionism destroys creativity, and it really does, because you fall too in love with this ideal version of what you want something to be, and so it's never right. It's never perfect.
It's not beat for beat.
It's
or worse, and I've seen this with tubers who are friends, but honestly, it's like, God damn, they will they wish that they could act in every role in their own project.
Yes.
To such a degree that it ruins it.
Right.
And because they want all the beats
because they want
exactly the way it is in their head.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm directing it, and like, okay, but this person wasn't, there weren't, let me just give you another line reading, another line reading, because you're an actor.
Micro-directing.
Let me give you another line reading. Okay, it's not working out. I'm going to fire you. I'm going to do it myself in a wig. And then it's like, Okay, cool. But you just made the project a little bit worse, actually, because nobody's suspending their disbelief and not seeing you in the role. So nobody's even listening to the first fucking 10 sentences.
Yeah.
And you don't know what you just did to your project because you're being too precious about it.
Yeah.
And honestly, it just takes maturity. Like, you just have to grow up.
Sure.
From that.
Sure.
But yeah, you can be too precious to a fault, and that's what happens.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, when you're talking about though the process and where you're spending the time and stuff, someone asked me when I was playing poker the other day, they were like, "Are you a pro?" And I was like, "No." And they were like, "Well, what do you do?" And I was like, "I do podcasts and I do like
production,
content, digital content."
That's our favorite thing to say.
Yeah, I don't like to say YouTuber because then people are like, "Oh, you're an influencer." Like, it's all like.
If I don't want to talk for long, I say I'm in production.
Yeah, I just say yeah, and then people are like naturally like asking me about it, and really cool people, by the way. They've subscribed to the show, so shout out to them. If I played poker with you in the past 6 weeks, you might have subscribed to the show.
She was cool to you, but I say I'm in production.
So then there was a follow-up question that was like, how much time do you spend playing poker versus what you do for work? And I'm like,
bro.
Well, lately,
bro, this is a great question. Can you even answer this question in earnest?
I was like,
is it even close?
No.
I gotta say, it's maybe okay. So like maybe out of the week now,
yeah,
you do 8 hours
of what we podcast stuff and content,
and in like poker.
And then I was like, well, maybe it's kind of skewed because it's the WSOP right now and it's 6 weeks.
Sure.
But I've never had more fun in my life than working so hard on strategy and poker and improving my game and figuring out what I did wrong in certain spots and going over hand histories.
Poker, World Series of Poker has been like the last 6 weeks, but you've been doing this for 3 months.
Yeah, but I've been I balanced my time more before.
Ready for World Series.
I was getting ready.
And you were like we had a conversation. Like, me and Nikki, by the way, have not had a date night.
Yeah.
Since then. And by the way, she earned this because, bro, I did that to her with crypto.
And it was totally permissible.
Both sides.
Both sides are accepted.
None of this has been controversial. This is just reality.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, I got to go hard on this right now because this is going to set us up for later. Granted, I got a little killed. But honestly, well,
I mean,
I know what I'm doing.
I had a big win with poker, what we've talked about a lot, but then I didn't talk about a lot, or that I haven't cashed since then. I've played maybe 15 live tournaments, 15 to 20 since then, and haven't even made the money. And
you've cashed online, but
I've cashed. Yeah, that's true. I actually did just win a $5 buy-in the other day. I won first place, $5 and a $350, a huge ROI.
How many people played?
125.
And you were number one.
I was number one. So there you go. But it was more about the experience that I had during it.
And that's everything.
And when maybe before I shifted this mindset, like back when I was pursuing acting, for example, and I had many auditions in between booking an acting role, I beat myself up so much that I kind of think it prevented me from securing future acting roles. Whereas in poker, I kind of already had been through a cycle already where we talked about answering the call and going through this whole cycle. And what I learned from that cycle of acting was to fall more in love with the process than I do the results. And I have, and it's been so fun. And so every time I busted a tournament afterwards, I couldn't wait to delve into the hand histories and figure out what I did wrong, where I could have bluffed more or bluffed less, or I was playing too scared here, or way too aggressive here, or if I got in this spot, what's the GTO model for that, and where did I deviate, and just all sorts of things. Or this player type I probably shouldn't have tried to bluff against, and it's all so exciting, and it's new. It's
so exciting.
And so it's more like I feel like I can't download things fast enough, and I can't wait to work on that process. Whereas you could look at it and be like, you lost 20 tournaments in a row. That
would never happen.
Oh my God. Like that. You're like, don't you feel terrible? And there's part of me that's like, well, I wish I would have cashed, but the other part is driven by trying to get even
ROI
better.
From what you've put into poker, from what you've gained in poker is insane. And not to suck my own dick, but the ROI that from what we've put into crypto and what I've made in crypto is insane. Still, I'm way kicking our fucking 401k's ass, which was the whole point. That's something that's kind of understated in our journey with crypto is
Yeah.
I am beating our 401k. So like,
yeah.
By a mile. By a lot.
I wish you wouldn't put into my head the visualization of you sucking your own dick. But other than that, I'm okay with your colorful use of language.
Well, let's be real. I would have to put my head all the way between my thighs.
Like, first of all, you're too tall.
Near my asshole.
Yeah.
Really
and secondly, you're a grower, not a shower. So you'd have to like get it there first.
It's a little buddy. He's a little tiny little buddy.
A little nub.
But the thing that people don't really realize about my penis is that it's actually not big at all. But Nikki's vagina is extremely shallow. And that's what I look for.
So it's the whole, like, you need a point of reference.
That's it.
It's like, it's perspective.
Hey, because you had a medical issue at birth that ended up benefiting me later in life. Guess what?
I didn't have a medical issue at birth.
No, you had a huge medical issue at birth with your vagina. That's a famous story
tiny?
In your family.
Oh, I see.
And so, yeah. So I have a very, very, I don't have my penis is very small. But I'm able to hit the back of your vagina because of how micro your vagina is.
I see. And this ties into the fact that truth is perspective, which is what we've been trying to convey.
I don't really see how it does. I don't agree.
Your reality and your truth is your perspective.
Absolutely. No, but I mean, dude, it's just so fun. So going back to what I was saying about David So, right? It's just so funny how people perceive you. Like, they're all like, who the fuck is your wife? Right? This is in the last episode.
Yes.
Who the fuck is your wife? And I'm like, no, this is my wife, but most people are just waking up to who she is right now.
Right.
But they don't fucking know her. And I think that this is kind of like an echoey thing throughout our lives right now, where I don't know if a lot of people really truly know you. Like, not to take it too serious.
Yeah.
But I have described you as a genius many times, and maybe that gets laughs or whatever.
Yeah, definitely gets laughs from me.
Yeah, I know, but you're a very humble person. But I'm like, no. Like, Nikki can really honestly just sit there and fucking absorb something like a computer, and you can plug her into it if you want to. Like, you can actually plug her into it. Like, if you have enough Starbucks and enough like phone chargers next to her, she'll be plugged into it, and she won't have to really move except she has to like go to the bathroom, and that's about it. But
I got penalized for peeing during the World Series of Poker.
But that's what I'm saying. You'll sit there and absorb it in a way that I don't know anyone else who does that.
Right.
But I know you, and so it's less surprising to me that you are capable of that than I think to a lot of our contemporaries who don't know you.
Yeah.
That. There's always like a layer of like Nikki is putting on because people are around right now. And you're not fake at all. You're just being more of
socially acceptable.
Avuncular. Yeah, exactly. Socially acceptable Nikki.
Yeah.
And like avuncular.
So this does tie back into what we touched on in the beginning of the first episode, where not knowing that I had ADHD and was on the spectrum, I didn't know not everyone sits there and hones in on something and absorbs a bunch of information. 2, I could never understand why I didn't want to go out and party when everyone is like excited to. I really tried to build the excitement, just like I tried to like the Mona Lisa. I really wanted to be like, I'm a teenager, or I'm 21. We go to clubs and we get excited and we get to dress up and be cold in a line for a long time and then go to a very loud, overstimulating place where we can't hear our own voice and pay an absurd amount for drinks, unless you can use your feminine wares to lure a guy to purchase a drink for you, which is gross to me, but that's the normal thing to do. And we need to be excited about it. And also the music sucks, but we have to love it because everyone else around us is having a fantastic time.
You're speaking for a lot of anti-club culture right now.
And there's like, and there's tears streaming out of your face. You don't know why, but it's not acceptable. So go in the bathroom and cry up and blame it on that you drank too much, and because that's acceptable. Yeah. But what's not acceptable is crying from being overstimulated and just want to go home with your cat and cuddle in bed. And I had a joke for the longest time that I think I've been like a 35 to 40-year-old cat lady all my life, and I'm finally just catching up. My age is finally catching up to my true self, where it's acceptable to just sip wine on the couch with your cat and your husband rather than go out at night. But yeah, so there was a lot of that and feeling broken that like you would think that because now people are like, oh my God, that you can do that as a gift. And I'm like, well, I didn't see it that way for a very long time because I was told I was a fucking weirdo and that like, yeah, I should be like, I was being antisocial by not wanting to go out. And knowing that about myself now really helped embrace these parts that I was ashamed of for so long. Like these parts that I was like, what is wrong with me? I want friends, but I can't keep friends because I am weird at times with social interactions. And I don't know what makes my brain do that. And like, why is everyone else, they all know how to socialize with each other and I don't. And I had to really study human beings. I felt like fucking a robot studying human beings and social interactions.
For you, a whole thing has been girl groups. Girl groups have been hard for you.
Yeah.
Like your whole life.
Yes.
You've mentioned that before even our current friend group.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned that, like, I mean, I've been with Nikki for a decade. Okay. So yeah, it's a different story here, but, kind of, going through that rock, like archaeologists here, like, what do you think's behind that? Oh,
that there's it's almost like an unspoken way to fit in. And I think that the reason that girls mask more than boys do, even neurotypical females have many layers like that, like they've learned how to put on a mask, is because girls are more like you either fit in or you're out. You know, like you either mesh with us and you conform to like how we're supposed to behave, or we don't understand you and you're gone. And so I think like survival wise, you're trying super hard to fit in, but I failed like at that. Like I just couldn't get myself to fit in, just like the Mona Lisa, like where they're talking about boys and nail polish and I just want to go outside and play games, or like, and I was more into like video games and stuff like Nintendo, and I just wanted to play Nintendo and they wanted to like talk about boys and celebrities. I thought boys were gross still, you know, like I was just you're socially behind.
Yeah, your formative experiences were very
you can't sit with us, you don't belong.
Yeah.
It's very obvious you don't belong, and we're gonna tell you very much so you don't belong. And so it's like I want to belong so bad. How do I belong? But I can't quite get it.
So I have to fake it a little bit.
And being funny helped. Developing. I mean, I think that was the basis of comedy for me, was like if I can make them laugh, they kind of thought I was their weird friend.
Yeah, that's
like
good.
I could kind of be like that role of like the weird friend. Yeah, like that kind of like
movie friend who's
the goofy one
wearing a funny t-shirt.
The one in Mean Girls that rubs her boobs and goes like, I can feel the weather or whatever.
Yeah, she's not like, sexual at all. Weird. Nobody wants to fuck her, but she's in the movie because she's
like laugh. I'm like the goofy next door neighbor.
It's kind of Lohan's like Jug Haven. I remember. I mean, dude, we've been through it all.
So it's manifested in adulthood as like me getting severely anxious on wanting to fit in with other girls.
Yes.
And feeling like I could for a minute, and then it's slipping away and triggering all these like history of me not being able to fit in.
Yeah, which isn't even like on anybody.
No, it's like
just part of your history.
Like my brain works like this and theirs works like this. They can't understand why I would act or say these things, and I can't understand why they didn't get what I was saying. And I have noticed that the female friendships I have managed to keep for a very long time, my two high school best friends, who were kind of like outcasts, we were all in our own boy groups, like the girl in the guy group, and then we kind of came together as like the random girls that were in guy groups. And I've realized that we are all on the spectrum. Like,
no question.
That's why we've been able to be friends for so long. They thoroughly understand me. I thoroughly understand them. And we're all misunderstood by a lot of people.
You guys are plug and play though. Like, you guys like, it's
very
honestly,
odd.
I love them to death too. They're honestly like fucking sister cousins to me. But when you put those three in a room, it's like fucking shoot me in the head, bro. Because these chicks are gonna fucking go on, and
all of us individually been told we're annoying by many people. Well, so we mask up and aren't that way, and then around each other we just get to be ourselves. Yeah.
But that's That's not to say that like I make Nikki mask at home.
No.
It's
just different.
It's just different. You have a different energy that you can match. It's different
because, and that's why I've always had more guy friends than girls later, like in teenage and college years, was because for me, didn't feel as judged by just going down my own path of interest. And then I have a common interest with a guy, like let's say, or like with poker, you know, like let's say that a guy plays poker and I play poker. All we talk about is poker together. It's nothing weird. Like we're not talking about like some
goddamn right
some relationship. There's no flirting going on. We're talking about hand histories or whatever. So what
kind of hand histories?
Hand job histories.
Yeah, see, I knew it.
And that's how it was with comedy. You know, I was in groups with guys that were doing comedy and we would go to open mics together, and I never felt like I was being put in a situation where they were trying to take advantage of me or anything. It just felt like we had a common interest. And with girls, I have noticed even as of late that there's a certain code that you're supposed to socialize a lot more. Like there's with guys, and if you read the book Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, which is an old book, but there's some outdated things in there. But there was one thing that struck me when I read it. I read it when I was like 16. Okay. That the majority of men tend to communicate through information-based conversations. So I'm calling you because I need information about a thing, or like I'm talking to you and so you're getting direct answers to a direct question. Women do it to bond. So when they call each other, there's no information being relayed other than like maybe some gossipy information, but it's not like, hey, what do you do for this? Oh, I do this and blah, blah, blah. And like you're not solving problems together. Yeah. You're like maybe relationship problems, emotional problems, or whatever you're there to lean on, but it's not an information-based conversation. And what I realized is that I only like to talk on the phone if there's a very distinct point to be made. I hate the phone. It gives me lots of anxiety. And when I do use the phone, it's like to schedule an appointment. Yeah. Okay, I need to make this doctor's appointment. So we made an appointment. The deal is done, and then hang up. It's over. Or I'm talking to my friend Ray. Shout out to Ray, who's a general contractor, and he knows like why my light switch won't work. Yeah. And I'm asking him what kind of switch I need to replace it, and he's telling me about two-way switches versus one-way switches. And then
he sends you a video afterwards.
Yeah, and then I appreciate that because I'm getting the information that I requested, and he's feeling helpful because he's helping a friend solve this information. Well, girls don't operate like that for the most part. The ones that I've like not had trouble fitting in with is that they call me and I'm trying to figure out what the point of the conversation is. and so I'm like,
but that's waiting. Mean though. That's really mean.
And and it took me forever to understand this. Actually, reading the book Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus helped me understand women more.
That's so funny.
And helped me mask more that like, oh, she wants me to relate to her right now. And so it became me trying to find things like it's almost like the basic conversation would be like, hey, my favorite color is pink and this is all the reason I like pink. And it's like, I like pink too. I saw a flamingo and it's also pink and I like the flamingo. And it's like trying to find common ground to relate to. And that's how that was a basic version.
No, I get it. I know exactly what you're
talking
about.
It's like they want to talk more about how their favorite color is pink and why is your favorite color pink too. Yeah. And I'm like, why are we talking about pink? Yeah. But it's not about why we're talking about pink. It's about like they're bonding with you over liking pink. And so I forever didn't have common interests with females. And it was really hard for me to try to relate on those topics. But then I got into common interests that females have, like taking care of plants. Yeah. Okay, boom. Now I have females that like plants, and we talk about plants, and we can relate so hard about plants.
Hey, when we first got together, you were not into nail stuff. Yeah. And then you got into nail stuff. And then you and these bitches started talking about nail stuff.
Yeah, and it's
you
great.
And Tara talking about nail stuff because she's into nail stuff.
Yeah, we're exchanging, because to me, it still fits my need of exchanging information.
You would elevate those conversations.
It's bonding over like something that we get to talk about together. And like, boom. Friendships, but then there's these like unspoken things that I didn't understand. But anyway, we'll talk about that after this
so we're gonna want a break.
And when we come back, so much discoveries,
so much personal discoveries.
What an adventure life is.
It's for real. And this is very honest, unvarnishing of that.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
And now a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. So there's a lot of ways to take care of your brain and your mind and your mindset. And I also find that your mindset affects so much more than we give it credit for. You know, if you are having a bad day and you feed into all the badness that you're having, it seems like it's an endless spiral of a bad day and more bad energy seems to come your way. But when you just kind of change it a little bit, all of a sudden it's not so bad and you're thinking of all the more delightful things. Sometimes that happens, but sometimes it's not as easy to control.
Well put, Nikki. And Nikki's talking about BetterHelp right now.
How we care for our minds affects how we experience life, so it's really important to invest time and care into keeping it healthy.
Yeah, look, I mean, the way that we don't prioritize caring for our mental health, but we prioritize everything else in our lives is such a mistake.
It's so weird how there's like a kind of a stigma with that, where if I tell you I'm going to take care of my physical health, like going, totally doing some cardio, doing some strength training, going to the gym, everyone's like, yeah, but if I go mental health, they're like, I don't get it. Well, it's the same thing. It's picture going to a therapist like having a personal coach, like a private trainer like you would in the gym, but for your mind. Yeah,
and there's plenty of ways to support having a healthy brain, right? Like you could take on a new language, you could take a power nap. But there's also BetterHelp online therapy.
Yeah, so we talk about getting therapy all the time on the show, and it's really good advice, but some people are like, well, it's really expensive too. It's not very accessible. And that's why we really like BetterHelp, because it's a very inexpensive, accessible way to get the therapy that you need, but from a licensed professional in whatever category you are needing help with. They have a variety of categories with all licensed professionals. So if it's a family matter or a relationship issue or some trauma or PTSD, something that happened in the past that you need, an issue that you need resolving, you can totally find a professional to help you for your specific need. For me, I had a lot of anxiety and depression that I had throughout my life. And while I had traditional therapy, one thing that I didn't really like about traditional, well, there's a few things. One is that I had to meet up with a few therapists before I found one that worked for me. And two, I couldn't access them before our appointment started. So it was really nice with BetterHelp. You can get unlimited messaging with your professional, and I would have like an issue during the week, and I could just text her and she could give me tools to work through that issue before our appointment. So by the time, we got to our appointment, I didn't have to remember what I was going through. I just got to resolve it on the spot. And I thought that was really neat and very helpful.
And that's what's awesome about BetterHelp is it's online therapy that offers video, phone. They have live chat only therapy sessions. You don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't feel like it.
And it's way more affordable than in-person therapy. And you could be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours.
Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/Steve.
That's betterhelp.com/Steve. All right, we are back. And to be honest, I don't really know what this topic's about other than a delving of things that we talk about on a regular basis.
It's a part two of, it's really just about shedding our skin a little bit.
Yeah, getting down to your authentic self.
Because how can you just do one episode about your authentic self?
Yeah, absolutely.
Come on. And it's so hard too when we have to deal with ad breaks or whatever, like to really just sit here and have a conversation about your authentic self is really difficult. But yeah, this has been great.
What I've noticed, so we were talking about females and conversing, and so I had to learn that. And that's been a part of masking of like, okay, to fit in socially, like you have to find something and like just talk about like something that you're bonding over,
because something that you have, real quick, something that you have like wanted the whole time I've been with you for a decade, is girlfriends, and you've gotten them.
I didn't want to be a guy's girl; it just happened that way.
You've wanted them the whole time, and you would always be frustrated about that.
Yeah,
like that was always the one that got away for you. It was like, I can never quite figure that out.
It's like, I really liked her, but she didn't like me because I guess I said something wrong, but I don't really know what I said wrong.
And she won't tell me or whatever. You just don't. It was such a dark field. You didn't have any clarity.
Yeah.
But that changed.
What I then a new layer happened is that, okay, so I realized that you're trying to grasp onto something to relate to with that person. Well, you can't talk too much or relate too hard about it because then you're making the conversation about you.
Yes.
And this was really hard feedback to get because after I felt like I kind of cracked a little bit of the code and was getting like, okay, like this is how it's operating and like I can do this and this feels good and we're developing a relationship. Well, then like even like being on JK, like it's like, oh, you're a good conversationalist until you're not. Because it's like, oh, well, you can't talk too much about the thing you're relating to the other person on because now you're trying to steal the spotlight. Mm-hmm. And what I found the most is when people don't understand you, they just project a label onto you. Like, you're self-indulgent. You are absorbed. You're self-absorbed. You're a narcissist. You are you take the spotlight away from you're trying to put it on you. It's like, no, I absolutely don't. I'm genuinely
interested.
I would rather, and I would rather it be on you. But then that's led to awkward pauses where I don't have anything to relate to if I'm not interjecting.
They don't understand,
so
or they don't understand.
The delicate
so
balance
much there too. It's like, dude.
So hard to like.
It's so hard to.
If you were an alien observing humans, there's so much like nuance that's unspoken that some people get and some people don't get.
There's also a clock in the room, and I'm not really revealing anything secret here. But, but
I thought you meant a life clock.
No, there's a clock in the room, and you're connecting with humans, and everyone's connecting with each other, and like everyone felt like they got their point out.
Yeah.
And then everyone kind of looks at the clock at the same time, and this isn't necessarily conveyed on camera because they're cutting to so many angles at the same time.
He's talking about JK News, everybody.
JK News, but like. Then all of a sudden you're just like, well, let me pick the ball back up and then I'll keep going. And then it's like, why are they dominating the conversation? It's like they were the person who picked up the ball. And the room, by the way, is appreciative. Like the idea that the room is like fucking pissed about it or something because you're pissed about it is not happening. The room is very like, oh, okay, cool. They're gonna go. You know what I mean? Like it's and that's why I love that place so much. Like JK is so great because
you can't wait to throw the ball to someone else.
Exactly.
Like you got something to say about this? Good.
Let's go. I can't wait. Yeah.
Because otherwise we have a long pause to fill.
Well, no. Look, none of the people in that room think they're better than the room.
No.
Right. The room is the most important thing, and the ball being passed around is what makes the room work. So the fact that somebody wants to take the ball, like, yo, give me the shot. It's great. It's great for the show. It's great for the viewer, I think. But sometimes, we get. They get a little stuck. It's like 7 minutes, 15 seconds. We're trying to get to like maybe 10 or whatever. And that's just because the fucking algorithm will fuck you hard if you don't get there. And so sometimes it's like, maybe we did exhaust this conversation. We'll see what happens from here. And it's just a playful, experimental thing. But like people don't know about that part of it, the secret sauce of that, or like the like hidden directive of that. That's not even really a directive. It's just something, a goal maybe that we're trying to get to.
And that's what always get there. Creativity is when we're talking about creativity and creation and creatives. Like we don't know what we're gonna make together. Everyone can have an idea of what they kind of want to happen, and then you're creating something together that's going to be different, and no one knows what the end's going to be.
Who does 20 plus videos a day with like? It's like, yo, dude, we gotta have the most god tier quality control. It's like, no, hopefully what actually happened is we end the day and we go, we had a good conversation with each other. And like we like each other and we supported each other and we had great conversations with each other that we felt were real and honest and true, right? And not just like joke attacks too, because that can happen too. Where like you're just on a joke attack and like I'm tagging this joke, you're tagging this joke, we're all tagging a joke. And we're not like really honing in on the true, because the true is more interesting than the joke every time. But sometimes we all get like into our own shit and like we just attack jokes and like because you're
having fun.
Yeah, you're having fun, but like it's not going to be perfect, bro. It's just not going to be perfect.
Yeah.
But it is an attempt at having the rooms back always. But dude, it's just one of those sad things too. I think that the audience, not the real audience who actually watches this stuff, but the comment people are really hard on the chicks on JK.
Yeah.
It's like really fucking brutal. Like for really no reason other than there's a lot of incelery there. Right? I don't even know if that's a word, but I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm giving disinformation.
Disinformation. That's what we do.
That's what I do. But there's a lot of incels in the comment sections of places, and especially if you look at who calls into radio shows and who like leaves comments places, it's a lot of crossover of like probably the dumbest dregs of human beings that exist. But there's a lot of smart people too. A lot of nice.
I will say that the JK audience that I've met in real life, that have come up to us, they're the nicest people I've ever met. People. Like just such sweet freaking people. Like I can't express how appreciative I am.
The JK audience, like the real people.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable. But there's always bad eggs in every crowd, right? And so like then you'll just like it's just like, oh hey, we live in a comparative reality. I don't like it when XYZ person's on. I like it when this person's on instead. Yeah. It's like you're still watching this fucking show and commenting on it, bro. Like, and it's really just about why do you have to like this but take away from that?
Right.
Like, but we all do that.
Sure.
I do that. Like I find myself, I can't just like Stranger Things season 1. I have to go like season 1 was the best one compared to like and season 2 fucking sucked and like season 3 was whatever.
Say all seasons of Umbrella Academy have been amazing. Lit. We love them.
One after the other.
Yeah. Well, go ahead. Did you have more?
Oh no, just the real audience is sitting there watching, right? And if they really think something, they'll chime in. But they're not there to try to take something from you. And if they're there to give like feedback or whatever, I'm in for it. But the shit where it's just like, hey, like fuck Anthony Lee, like he's just a stupid dancer and all this stuff.
Right.
I just think that's so mean and cruel.
Absolutely.
And it's like, oh, just because he's just a shitty noodle salesman. And I'm like, that's a mean thing to say. It's so mean.
Just because he is number 2 to the Jabberwockies.
Yeah. I mean,
and because he got number 2 on that dance show.
But Quest is like honestly the number 1.
Doesn't make him a loser.
He's not a fucking loser. Like you're saying in all caps.
It's so mean.
From my account, my alternate account.
We love Anthony Lee.
We love Anthony. But yeah, just look. Having a great sense of self is really important.
Yes. So I want to get through that part because that's also been a big part of the journey. I think there's a lot of different aspects of it. You could do a whole episode on being a public figure, I guess. Again, like it's hard to talk about yourself that way. Like I'm a public figure or whatever. I don't think of myself like that. But being observed by the public for many, many, many years, you start to get. You have to have a really firm, grounded sense of yourself, or you can get really lost in the sauce. And it has many times. I've gone through waves of depression, not knowing like how I'm perceived or what I'm doing wrong. I feel like I'm fucking up, but I don't know how or where or why people got mad at this and now they're saying I'm this and they're labeling me as this. And I think I had an over acceptance of that and wanting to like be better for them and change. And like, you know, maybe if I take this criticism and like change, then like people will like me and like I'll be better and I'll improve. So it's good. It's a good thing. But then I realized that you can never get approval that way. Like, because there's so many different expectations of you can't fulfill all of them, so there's always people that are not going to like you. And on top of that, people, and this is something that I just went through with my therapist recently, because I've known that this pattern exists in me where I see negative feedback on a kind of consistent basis where it's not just one time. Now it's like happening on several different episodes and it's a bunch of different things. And I'm like, I want people to like me. How can I change so they like me? And now I feel like I'm walking on eggshells when I'm doing my own shows or whatever, when I'm on a show and like I'm trying to fulfill all of their requests of me. And I'm basically becoming an overly anxious people pleaser.
Yeah.
And it still doesn't work. So not only do you not get the validation, but you also feel like shit about yourself because you don't know what's broken about you. So I'm telling my therapist that like this pattern is coming up again, but it's weird because I'm in a stage of my life where I feel like I'm most in tune with the most authentic version of myself. I've done a lot of work on like digging deep and figuring out the truth of who I am and living my life in a way, especially this year, of like, what if we let go of all those expectations, even that I have on myself?
I know.
and like see what happens this year. Because in the past it's like, oh, I'm not allowed that freedom because if I let everything go and it doesn't work out, then
like me because
how will I eat?
They like me because.
And yeah,
they
and
like me because I do Tasty Tuesday.
Yeah.
They like me because blah blah blah.
Or what if I let the ball drop and now everyone's disappointed and everyone goes away and everything that I built and I can't get it back and whatever. And I was like, what if I just let it go for this and see what happens? If I'm just working on things that fulfill me, that I feel like I'm giving my energy to in a positive way, in a way that maybe helps others. And it's like a mutual giving of energy where not only do I like what I'm working on, but I feel like others are benefiting from it as well. And I'm getting energized by their feedback. Yeah. And when something feels bad, then I don't do that thing anymore. And let's see what happens. And I realized that things were happening like this on one of the other projects that I am on.
Our chief competitor?
Our chief competitor. And it's this might be a spoiler, but one of the girls is leaving because of their job. And it felt like a natural ending for this show, but we have a lot of episodes stockpiled and they're getting...
Well, you were ready to leave as well.
Yeah, for a while, like we've been talking about it. We've been living in different states and our lives are completely different. We've even talked about this on the show that, you know, when we started, we were all doing the same thing. And now Jess is a CPA, Gina's on a TV show as a gamer, Tiff is a new mom to a brand new baby, and we're out here in Vegas living our poker and crypto dreams.
Exactly.
And
Telling it, by the way.
And everyone's thriving at what they're doing, and so it just feels like we well, you know, whatever, you're finding fulfillment.
Don't talk for me.
You're finding fulfillment in what you're doing in a very special way, a very unique way where I'm so like it's almost like everyone's archetype that they were on the show got escalated to this this place of like where everyone is like doing the thing that they wanted to do. Exactly. Yeah.
Some of them literally, which I won't say who.
Shut up. People are gonna speculate. No,
I know.
That's not real. The best part. No one's on cocaine. No one's on cocaine.
I said figuratively.
Okay, figurative cocaine.
But perhaps some of them really are. Actually.
No, they're not.
Perhaps.
End the rumors. But anyway, recently, like, you know, there's some, I just felt like comments I was seeing that used to really bother me where I have a more like witness approach to it right now where I'm like kind of like zoomed out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it hurts my feelings that they don't like me.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
But I also don't have this overwhelming need to want to change myself to appease them anymore,
right,
where I did used to in the past.
Yeah.
I used to really want to change, to go out of my way.
You would really
I cared so much.
You thought about it the whole fucking time.
And even talking about it on the show, I've talked about like being a human being rather than a human doing. You know, for a lot of my life, I felt like I needed to perform a certain way to get the approval of others. And so I was only lovable if I was doing the right thing. And I didn't feel like I deserved love, almost like subconsciously didn't feel like I deserved love or was worthy of love if I was just being. If I was just for me being,
yeah, exactly.
I don't deserve love. I need to do something to earn your love.
Actively.
And
trying to get your affection back.
Working through that. Yeah.
Oh, I see your negative comment.
Yeah.
Let me try to get you back right now.
Yes. And while I can observe that this is a pattern worth breaking, I went to my therapist and was like, but I don't know how. Mm-hmm. I don't know how to not want to appease them and like not want to do my best. Yeah. And she brought up a point of shadow work, of how the fact that I have unlocked these other areas of my life, which I talked about in the beginning, which I felt like I was just struggling with imposter syndrome with, that I found these strengths that I had that I didn't know were even there.
Yeah. That
everyone is born with a blueprint. This is a Jungian philosophy called I just learned this shit today, but like individuation, where we come into the world and we have this blueprint where we have all these strengths, these potentials, these seeds of potentials, right? And through society and culture and the way you were brought up or whatever, only some of those seeds were acceptable and the rest were deemed unacceptable. And so this became banned to the shadow self. So these things that are still in you that have been told are wrong and they're banned and you should be ashamed of them or like, you know, embarrassed of them or whatever. Like you have these strengths that are not approvable in this world. So you put them over there, and then you develop all these strengths, and maybe you like them, maybe you don't. Maybe you're like, I'm bored of that. I'm unhappy here. But this thing keeps calling me, and like then you unlock one of those seedlings and it starts to grow. And as it starts to grow and you start to share it with the world, people that have banned that seedling to their shadow self, they have this visceral reaction that like, you're not supposed to act like that. You're wrong. You're being weird. You're blah, blah, blah. And you're like, this is actually an authentic part of my being. And I actually think it's a truth that's not harmful to the world, because other people might act or feel this way too. And actually sharing that part of me and embracing it and choosing not to bend backwards to go back the other way. I've gotten a lot of responses from people that are also on the spectrum or neurodiverse that are like, I relate so hard to that. And just because it's just a niche amount of people that are relating, and the majority are like, I don't get it, and you're being wrong, and you're being rude, and you're whatever. Sure. Instead of going backpedaling into this like, oh no, I need to shut down these parts of me.
Yeah.
I've gotten to a stage from embracing this like really true, authentic self that I don't feel the need to anymore. Yeah. I don't want to feel like my personality is wrong. Like I know my intentions.
So when you say that, like there are people, and this is just one of those unfortunate things where I just think that it's nobody's fault.
Yeah.
Like maybe somebody's listening to something, right? Like, so there was a comment on like a Chief Competitor episode, Big Moods, right? Which is, not going to be Chief Competitor for long, in my opinion. But like, they're like, oh, Nikki talks too much or whatever.
Yeah.
And they don't really understand that you are neurodivergent, and that what you're doing is actually,
I was connecting to the person in the conversation.
Right.
Like I had learned to do that, but me thinking I'm connecting is coming across as abrasive and taking over the conversation. And
you're not saying that they're wrong.
No, they're not.
It's just that
it's perception. What I'm saying, truth is a perception.
But they're saying that you're being like a fucking camera hog or whatever.
Yeah, which is not my intention. Yeah. They're projecting that intention onto me because that's the label that they were given when they maybe interrupted someone or like to like talk too much or whatever. They were told to talk less and listen more because you're making it about you. And so they got trained that way, and so that part of their being wasn't allowed to develop. And sometimes we're conditioned that way to help us succeed more, if you back to primal needs, like staying alive in a tribe, and surviving. You can't be rocking the boat too much. So they're trying to teach you the tools you need to survive in this society, and that's fine. If I needed to thrive in that society of the Big Mood ecosystem, and that is where the only way I can survive and put food on my plate, then I need to adapt and survive. Yeah. But I'm now in a stage of life where I was very honest to these comments. I told them like that. I no longer want to work on things where I have to continuously wear a mask or walk on eggshells.
Compensate.
Because there are things that I work on, such as this podcast or my own vlog channel, where I feel like I've been very honest about who I am on that channel. If you watch my vlog channel,
and there, you're exactly who you are off camera.
YouTube.com/Nikki.
You're exactly who you are off camera.
If you didn't think I was a sitcom wife and you watch that channel for like 13 episodes, you will
welcome to my world.
The sitcom.
You guys are the few thousand people who understand what I'm actually going through.
And I'm happy. And I told them, I don't want to be a famous YouTuber. I'm not trying to make a general audience happy.
The more popular you get, the more miserable you are.
Absolutely. And I try to tell people this all the time, because people right now are like, well, I want to be famous, or if you're not famous, you failed. Like, or you're irrelevant now, so you're
not famous. Hey, did you know you're not famous? Yeah, dude.
Yeah, no, I don't want to be. Actually, because like, I don't think
Chris Pratt's famous. How's he doing right now, bud?
Or
he gets killed. He posts anything, he gets fucking killed immediately.
And it's some people that's their path, and they the way that they're getting their message across is by being famous. But for me, I have found when I get to the root of my happiness and joy and purpose in the world is when I have a smaller audience who relates to what I'm saying. Yes. And who I'm helping by just imparting things that I've learned or fucked up on or had to process or floating ideas that weren't in my universe before that have greatly helped me, and maybe it'll help you. That's where I feel like I'm better served, rather than trying to bend over backwards on this show that doesn't see me that way. So why should I try to conform to be seen a different way that's not serving anyone?
Well, the irony there is that it's your show.
It's a co-show.
Well, but for sure, but it's
like, this is more, I feel like.
Oh, I agree.
You know,
but it's quote unquote your show.
Yeah.
But that's kind of why you're leaving. It's not yours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not, you don't have possession over.
Yeah. And what's sad too is the whole purpose of that show is to showcase people having different perspectives and being able to have a conversation a really healthy way. And we all do respect each other's opinions, even when we when we're arguing about them, or when we have completely different opinions. And that's what makes,
as soon as they hit cut, everyone's hugging and all kinds of shit.
Yeah, we love each other, and that friendship with those people is very special to me.
Yeah, I know.
And the fact that when it's observed on a mass level and people have so many opinions and people want to villainize one person and make someone else a deity, and like, this person's way of thinking is absolutely correct and this person's way isn't, it feels bad, man. And I don't really feel like sticking around somewhere where it feels bad. And it's not the girls in the show's fault.
No,
they're awesome.
No,
we're having a great time. But I just feel like my presence isn't serving this audience.
Yeah.
And the messages that I want to impart aren't reaching these people. So rather than try to conform and appease them, I will stick to the platforms where the message is more received.
Yeah.
And so, I don't care if I have 5 listeners. I really don't.
I know.
Like, I'm not at a place where I am. And I think that
you've never been that way.
Poker actually opened up a whole world of, like, I feel a sense of belonging there. And I also, there's an income that doesn't rely on people liking you.
Yes.
And so,
but that's why they didn't like you in the JK parties, which is another audience.
It's so funny, yeah.
Because it's like you're like, if we're gonna play a game, let's fucking play the game. And people are like, why is Nikki taking it so seriously? I don't understand. And it's like, Nikki's playing a game. Nikki's playing a fucking game. Well, also when I was
brought into JK, when we were brought into JK party,
that's another thing.
Everyone else was highly competitive.
There's another bullshit thing that happened there too, which is total bullshit. I will say this. I'll just say this because you would never say it. And it's at the end of the episode. There was somebody who said, "This is my fault." And he took responsibility. Quote unquote. Because he's basically like being a martyr. But what actually happened is you were brought in and told to be ultra fucking competitive on camera. Because to be a villain on camera. Because I was taking the place of 3 high energy, highly competitive, shit talking people. Me, Bart, and Joe. No, Joe, Bart, and Gio. Me, Bart, and Joe. No, you weren't a regular on JK Party. It was me. Oh, it was mostly me, I think. You're replacing, but yeah. Shut the fuck up. But no. So yeah, they were like, we have to replace this energy, and you're the only person that can do it. That's been a guest on the show. Can you fill the shoes of 3 people that are highly competitive? And we want you to bring the energy up. We want you to rile people, ruffle people's feathers. We want you to be this. Here's what's bullshit character. To me, and I don't think this person intentionally did this. No. It's just one of those things where, look, if, in my opinion, if you're going to take responsibility for something, you need to inform people of where you fucked up. Because I think a lot of people are missing the context behind what you're saying. Like, there was a drama that happened. So to fill in the story is that I took the place of very highly competitive regulars on JK Party. It was me. Shut up. And then the new cast members that were brought in weren't highly competitive. No. So there was a severe imbalance. Yes. So when I was a guest on the show, me and Steve were guests on the show, there were 2 highly competitive people matching up with 3 highly competitive people, and then a few people that weren't very competitive. That, whatever. It, like, we're all playing a game. We're all friends. They're fun people. They're fun people. Everyone's getting along. We're all friends. Everyone knows the dynamic. Like, this person's gonna, like, Joe's gonna get really mad at this show, at this game, like the Mad Gab or whatever. He's gonna break a table when he loses, whatever. And it's funny and it's entertainment, and everyone loves that aspect. But because he's a man, if a woman does it, we won't even get into the gender stuff because it doesn't matter. What I was brought in there for and told, the directive I had was to take over for that type of energy because it would be lacking on the show now. And the other cast members didn't have that type of energy. So what it looked like was me being a crazy thunderstorm,
shit talking and being a bully, which wasn't true at all. We all like hung out during lunch and played games, and we loved each other. We went to each other's houses all the time. But the dynamic is like, well, she's being hyper competitive, and they're like, whoa, chill, you know, and then but I was actually told during breaks to be even more competitive. And so people started really hating me on that show. And like not the people on the show, but the audience. Yeah, the audience watching. And it got really depressing because I was just trying to do a good job of what I was told.
You were doing great. And you were an actress given a job.
And then on top of that, I really fucking love playing games, and especially deception games. So Mafia is like a game where you're trying to find the bad guy or you're trying to not get discovered as the bad guy. Yep. And I was constantly winning. And people were not only getting mad that I was being a bully, but that I was also winning. They also accused me of cheating because I was winning so much of like even the Guess Who game. Like they're like, she could see the card.
She saw it.
Just because it was like deductive reasoning. And in my mind, the questions I asked were directly, you know, corresponding to what I was trying to narrow down, and I finally got it. Well, guess what? The skill I have in poker is being able to snuff out when people are bluffing.
You're clearly cheating.
And being able to deductively guess what hands they have in their hand.
WSOP, fourth place.
Based off of the information that I'm given. And it's just so funny that I was so sad that I couldn't be someone different for these people to watch, that I like was just born this particular way, and that the strengths,
and you played it up too, so
then
I
was playing it up.
It was even more echoed because they were louder.
Yeah, and these things that I was told were strengths were now not strengths. They're actually bad, and I should hide them and blah blah blah. Well, they got to be actual strengths in a game that pays you,
provable. And that's all awesome. But my point was, I think. There was some bullshit that happened, which was amateur hour a little bit.
So I left the show because I felt very unliked, but we had a stockpile. It was kind of similar where there's like all these episodes still coming out, and I know people are going to hate me, so I announced to everybody that I'm not on the show anymore, actually, that I left the show because I didn't want it to piss people off so much anymore, and that they're going to continue seeing me on the show even though I'm not on the show anymore. And
for like 3 months.
They're probably going to give so many notes, and why can't Nikki take the note? But we stockpiled them way in advance before I ever saw your note.
So there was a bullshit thing that happened, which again, not saying this person did this maliciously at all. This person's a great person. I love this person. I really genuinely do. He's a good dude. But he comes out and so everyone's just bitching about Nikki in the comments, right? Yeah. Everyone's bitching about Nikki or whatever.
And Tiff too. Like
Tiff
like
and Nikki have a cabal.
She actually like it opened up this like fun part of her where she got to like
she was having more fun.
Yeah, she was having way more fun.
And so Tiff and Nikki, Tiff and Nikki are allied. This is all bullshit. Blah 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 blah. Right. So then this person comes out and he's like the director of the channel, and then he's like, "Hey, just so everyone knows, this is on me." Mm-hmm. And then there's like a pregnant pause, and it's like, "All right, dude, you got my attention. I popped my popcorn. I'm listening.
Yeah.
How is this on you, brother?" It's on me, and this is 100% on me. And so every comment is just about how you and Tiff suck and all shit.
Yeah.
And then like the taking responsibility person is literally just fucking martyring themselves by being like, this is on me. And it's like, you're not, okay, if you're going to say it's on you, you got to explain to the audience who doesn't understand what the fuck is going on actually behind the scenes, why it's on you, motherfucker. If you're going to take the blame for it, you have to take the blame for it then. If that's what you're going to do. If that's what that's what you're doing. Mm-hmm. So why aren't you doing it? And I thought that was complete bullshit.
Well,
and maybe it was just like communication-wise bullshit. He didn't understand.
He didn't know how to do
that, or that he needed to do that.
So what ended up happening was the reverse effect, where everyone's like, "Oh, now you're trying to throw this guy under the bus."
Exactly, but that was what happened.
Which is further proof.
Instead, every comment is just like martyring this dude, and it's like, yeah, dude, no shit, because you didn't explain to the people who don't understand the secret sauce behind the scenes, who don't see what's going on in the breaks and on the lunches, who don't hear what's going on when Nikki got hired. Hey, you need to do this. Hey, you need to do that. Hey, you need to do this. Hey, you need to do that. Hey, you need to be more aggressive. Hey, you need to be louder. Hey, you need to be more
context
aggressive.
Is everything.
More energy. More fucking energy. Hey, it's after lunch. We need more energy. We need you to be more of a villain here. We need you to be like against what the group is doing.
Yeah.
So Nikki's like, yeah, okay, I'm on it. I'm on it.
And then I didn't actually want to throw anyone under the bus, so I couldn't even tell my side of the story. I mean, I'm happy to get it out now, but like it's been a lot of years. No one's getting thrown under the bus now. But yeah, if it was a source of a lot of depression for a long time, and me not wanting to throw anyone under the bus, because I know everyone had the best intentions.
And they really did. I really believe that. This is not a good versus bad thing. It's just one of those things that sucks, because
it goes back to the truth is perspective. Yeah. And also this is a micro level of what I think people are like on a grand scale of things. Once you decide something's true, either about a person or a way of life,
confirmation bias,
whatever, you actively search for proof that it's true, and you will find your proof in that reality, which further confirms that this is the only reality that exists, and anyone else thinking differently is in a skewed reality.
I knew it.
And that's where this dogma exists of like, this is why we have like such crazy polarizing political parties and religions and things where people just cannot connect with each other, because you're not actually discussing ideas and being open-minded to what the other person is thinking. You're deciding what the other party is thinking and projecting everything about that's bad onto
why can't these hoes just close their legs and not get pregnant?
Yes. Yeah.
Hey, I get my hair done in a professional beehive. And
I'm not saying that people can't be wrong. I think that anyone that impedes on people's freedom is wrong.
Agreed.
But I think that there are wrong things on a lot of sides of things, and people just get locked into labels.
And I wish people saw more people as humans and understood more of the intentions behind things.
Yes.
Rather than going like, man, all these hoes are so mad they can't get abortions no more, or whatever. It's just like, yeah, dude, that's all it is. That's all that's going on, dude.
Right.
Like, let's simplify it all the way down. And like, that's what's going on. It's the Kool-Aid version. It's the Crystal Light version of reality.
Yeah. And this happens over and over. And this is not just one issue or one political party or one religion or whatever. It happens because I think there's a severe gap in the way we understand people and perspectives and truth in life, and you could be operating in the same world as someone and be on a completely different plane.
Yeah.
And just because you can see the plane that other people are operating on doesn't mean you live there.
Yeah. Amen.
And I don't know. I think that there's a lot to delve into, but and I don't even know how much of this has been cohesive the past 20 minutes.
No, look, it's honestly,
a lot of ideas.
It's honestly another part of the greater self that I think we just needed to talk about finally.
Yeah.
And then we kind of can, because
and it's kind of a release to talk about.
It is, because like Big Mood's winding down, right?
Yeah.
And then like, we can kind of talk more about the JK Party stuff. It's been years.
Yeah.
And, like, we're not throwing anybody on the bus because we love those guys.
And I think that
it's just more context.
There's no oh my gosh, the algorithm's not gonna like this and people aren't gonna like my video, and like I feel like you become a slave to
absolutely,
to wanting people to like you, so they keep coming back to your videos and stuff too, and so it's hard to talk about topics like this when you're relying and so dependent on the need for people to be receptive to you.
Yeah.
Whereas I think the more that I've gotten to like who I am as a person and grounded in that kind of truth, the more I'm pretty open to sharing that, even though it's super vulnerable and people can use it to hurt you. I think it's more important to share that than it is to be scared of someone hurting me.
Amen.
And not liking me for it.
If you're not watching Nikki on Twitch, by the way, and you're interested in poker, you're fucking up, because it's pretty hilarious to hear Nikki use a bunch of poker jargon, honestly sound like a fucking poker computer. And it's just the weirdest thing ever. If you are not familiar with Nikki, like in a poker context, you'll be mind blown. Don't worry about it. Like, just watch it and see what happens, because you will be mind blown.
It's twitch.tv/tricknicks, TRICKNIKS.
Thank you.
Because Nikki Limo was already taken, I think, by me.
Probably, but I can't
figure out the login info, so I had to make it Tricknicks. That's my poker name on all the poker sites anyway.
So maybe we'll figure it out later. Maybe we won't.
And it is the name of this channel originally.
Exactly. But you really do owe it to yourself if you want to find out honestly what's going on with Nikki in the past like fucking year and a half or like year 3 months. That's where she went. Okay.
Yeah. And I think
and you can hear it. It shows up.
The point of this entire episode or 2-part series is that self-discovery is a wonderful thing.
It's honestly amazing.
It's freeing.
But honestly too, something that I have noticed is that people who don't necessarily know something will comment very loudly about something. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, another thing I've heard a lot of is like, what the fuck is with Nikki just all of a sudden like using a bunch of poker jargon like she knows what the fuck's going on? And it's like, well, that was before the World Series of Poker win. But like, as if you're just sitting there reciting like some fucking poker terms randomly. You don't know what's going on. Like you just learned.
Doing it to be elitist.
You're a tourist in Mexico who like just
learn Spanish.
Like learn Spanish on their phone on the flight. And so you know like a couple of greetings things. And you're like, oh, una margarita, por favor. But that's like how they're treating you. And it's like, bro, did you not see her final table of the fucking World Series? Well, now they have.
I mean,
I'm just sticking up for you because I'm like, well,
thanks.
I
don't need it.
Fuck those fuckers, dude.
I think I've addressed this in that episode, the episode about poker, where it just is how people talk. And you get really used to talking that way because you're around people that talk that way. So it's like I've been in Spain for a year, 2 years. And everyone around speaking Spanish, and now I'm coming back to America and I'm speaking Spanglish by accident.
Yeah.
And I don't even realize that I'm slipping into Spanish sometimes because...
You're like Madonna.
Because that's how people talk over there.
Like Madonna went to the UK for like 3 days.
Yeah, and she came back with an accent.
With a fucking accent.
I would definitely come back with an accent. If I talk to someone from an hour with an accent, I start talking like them. Yeah. This happens all the time.
You'd be like, oh, darling.
I watched so many Beatles videos and interviews that I started feeling like I had a Liverpudlian accent one time. Like all my thoughts.
Never say that again. You cannot say that.
My inner monologue became very Liverpudlian.
That is a racial epithet. You're not allowed to say that.
I'm sorry.
Liverpudlian.
Liverpudlian, yeah.
That's so funny. You know, my buddy Joe has a Liverpudlian, and I don't think she would appreciate you saying that she's Liverpudlian.
No, we literally talked about it together.
Okay. Well,
I told her
I'm going to stick up for her as a man.
I think you tried and she told you to fuck off.
No, I'm a man.
Pretty sure she told you to fuck off.
I'm a man who speaks for women, and because I'm overly protective of my women. You know how I am.
Yeah.
You know, you guys know how I am. And just defended her big time. There you go.
Yeah, thanks.
So hopefully she thinks about that. And thinks about having sex with me in the future.
Oh my God, we have to go.
Because that's ultimately what it's all about.
Yeah, the male agenda.
All right, see you on the next one.
I don't know where we went, but we love you guys.
Check us out on Patreon.
Thanks for listening.
Patreon.com/sticky.
Yeah, patreon.com/sticky, STIKKI. Yeah. Also, shit they don't tell you right here. And my vlog channel and my Twitch those are the projects that fill me with the most joy.
That's true.
That I am 100% myself, and I'm really freeing. It's really freeing to feel that way. It's like really just a sense of unbridled freedom.
You're laughing, but it actually is.
It is actually true. I think for the first time in my life, I told my therapist this morning that I was like, I don't think I've ever been this happy in my entire life. And it's not like everything is perfect. Like,
I agree.
Or like, you know, we have a fucking...
We got attacked by ants big time this week.
Our dryer broke and our pool motor broke all in the same week. And it was
an ant attack.
And an ant attack. Oh, an ant war, actually.
Oh, my God.
But I have never felt so happy. And I'm not saying everything's going to stay like that forever. Like, I'm just appreciating...
Amen.
This happiness, and I think it comes from this place, and that's why I think we wanted to share it in an episode.
Yes.
Of like finding your true self and kind of exploring that, and also these like
and declaring it a little bit too.
Yeah, and owning it. Yeah. All right. Well, that's all for now. These are unprocessed thoughts. These are shit that they don't tell you. They do not tell you.
They do not tell you what about.
They don't tell you these shits. So you're getting this shit right here.
See you on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.